You probably did something last night that you have absolutely no memory of. You might have laughed out loud, you might have muttered a complete sentence about an airport, or maybe you straight up shouted a warning to someone who wasn't there, terrifying your partner or your cat in the process. We call it sleep talking, and we usually treat it as a harmless, slightly embarrassing midnight glitch. But here's the fascinating thing. That weird midnight mumble is actually a window into our deepest survival history. It is older than electricity, older than farming, and older than our entire modern civilization. It is a direct biological leftover from a time when closing your eyes for 8 hours was the most dangerous thing a human could possibly do. The question is, why did our brains develop a system that keeps our mouths running even when our conscious minds are completely turned off? To find the answer, we have to go back to the ultimate turning point in human history. It happened roughly 2 million years ago with an ancestor called Homo erectus. Before this point, our distant primate relatives didn't sleep on the ground. They slept up in the trees, nesting on branches to stay far away from lions, leopards, and things that go bump in the night. Tree sleeping kept them alive, but it had a massive downside. You can't fall into a truly deep, heavy sleep when you're balancing on a branch. If your muscles relax too much, you fall, and that is the end of your genetic line. Then Homo erectus did something incredibly bold. They mastered fire. Fire gave them a protective barrier on the ground, which allowed them to finally come down from the trees. For the first time in evolutionary history, humans could lie flat on their backs and fall into a deep, restorative phase of sleep called REM sleep. This changed everything. REM sleep is where the brain processes memories, sparks creativity, and builds complex problem-solving skills. It is the literal engine that built human intelligence. But ground sleeping came with a terrifying catch. A fire can die down, and a predator can sneak past. You are lying on the dirt, completely unconscious and totally defenseless for hours. If you are entirely dead to the world, you are basically a free buffet. Because of this danger, evolution had to create a compromise. Human sleep could never be a total, uninterruptible blackout. It had to be dynamic. This brings us to a brilliant piece of modern research led by Dr. Charlie Nunn, an evolutionary anthropologist who studied the sleep patterns of the Hadza people, one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer tribes in Tanzania. The Hadza sleep in communal groups without modern walls or security systems, much like our ancient ancestors did for hundreds of thousands of years. Dr. Nunn and his team tracked the sleep of over 30 tribe members simultaneously. What they discovered was mind-blowing. Out of more than 200 total hours of sleep tracking, there were only a few isolated minutes where every single adult in the group was asleep at the exact same time. At any given moment, someone was awake, tossing and turning, or waking up to check the fire. Scientists call this the Sentinel Hypothesis. We didn't evolve to sleep like isolated bricks in private, soundproof bedrooms. We evolved to sleep as a shifting, hyper-vigilant collective. Your brain is wired to keep certain survival systems online while you rest, acting as an internal night watchman. Now, think about what happens when that night watchman spots trouble in your mind. This leads us directly to the mechanics of why you actually speak out loud. When you drift into REM, sleep, and start dreaming, your brain turns on a brilliant safety feature. In your brainstem, two specific neurochemicals switch off the motor neurons that control your voluntary muscles. Scientists call this sleep paralysis or motor atonia. It is the body's way of locking you in place. If you dream about running a marathon, your brain sends the signals, but the paralysis prevents your actual legs from kicking your wall. It keeps you safe. Except the system isn't perfect. The block on our motor pathways is more like a leaky faucet than a sealed valve. And the one area that leaks the most is our vocal tract. The muscles required for breathing and speech are incredibly close to the core autonomic systems that keep us alive while we sleep. Sometimes when a dream gets intense enough, the emotional signal overrides the paralysis. The motor command breaks through the barrier. The result? You talk. But why are these dreams so intense in the first place? Why is the brain working so hard that it slips past its own physical locks? Here is what makes this so important. For decades, people thought dreaming was just random neural junk, like a computer running a screensaver. But evolutionary psychologists like Dr. Antti Revonsuo changed the game with something called the threat simulation theory. Think of your brain as a hyper-advanced virtual reality simulator. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, if you encountered a pack of wolves during the day, your chances of survival weren't great if it was your first time dealing with them. So, your brain used the safety of the night to run simulations. When you sleep, your brain creates realistic, high-stakes scenarios where you are chased, attacked, or forced to fight. It is a biological training ground. By practicing survival strategies in your sleep, you are significantly more likely to survive those exact threats when you wake up. If our dreams are heavily geared toward survival, conflict, and social navigation, the things we say in our sleep should reflect that, right? Well, a massive study in 2017 led by Dr. Isabel Arnolf at the Paris Brain Institute set out to prove exactly that. They monitored over 200 people in a sleep lab, recording thousands of sleep-talking episodes to analyze the actual words being said. If sleep-talking was just random electrical noise, you would expect a chaotic mix of pleasant words, gibberish, and happy thoughts. But that isn't what they found at all. The researchers discovered that over 70% of sleep talking is not only grammatically correct, but it is also overwhelmingly negative, aggressive, or defensive. The most common word uttered by humans in their sleep across almost all languages. The word no. People are arguing in their sleep. They are shouting commands. They are telling unseen entities to stop, to go away, or to watch out. The study found that sleep language is often filled with insults and intense emotional expressions. It turns out you aren't talking to yourself about your grocery list. You are actively participating in a high-stakes, ancient mental drama. Think about that for a second. When you sleep talk, you aren't experiencing a modern bug. You are witnessing the raw output of a prehistoric survival simulator that has been running in the human lineage for millions of years. It is the sound of an ancient human fighting off a threat, defending their social status in the tribe, or navigating a crisis, all leaking through a temporary glitch in your physical paralysis. As humans evolved, our survival didn't just depend on running away from predators. It depended entirely on our ability to cooperate. We are an intensely social species. If you got kicked out of the tribe, you die. This meant that navigating social relationships, hierarchy, and tribal politics became just as dangerous as facing a saber-toothed cat. Your brain had to simulate social conflicts just as intensely as physical ones. This is why your sleep talking might sound like an argument with a coworker or a defensive explanation to a boss. It is the exact same prehistoric mechanism. The scenery changed from a savanna to an office cubicle, but the evolutionary panic is identical. So here's the full picture of what is happening when the lights go out. 2 million years ago, we dropped from the trees and took a massive gamble by sleeping on the ground. To survive the night, our brains turned sleep into a collective watch system and transformed our dreams into a virtual reality combat simulator. To stop us from jumping up and running into the dark, our brainstems developed a physical lock to paralyze our muscles. But because our survival depends so heavily on communication, the line to our vocal cords remains beautifully, chaotically imperfect. The next time you wake up and someone tells you that you were shouting nonsense in the middle of the night, don't feel embarrassed. You were just checking the perimeter. You were running the ancient code, practicing for a world that vanished a long time ago, and proving that even when you are completely unconscious, you are still profoundly, beautifully human. If you want to keep exploring the strange, hidden reasons behind why our modern bodies do such ancient things, stick around. We've got plenty of history left to uncover.